Hello everyone, tonight we're stepping into a story unlike anything you've heard about Cleopatra. No snakes. No gold-plated baths. No rolled-up carpets. Just you, in the form of a young woman, lying on a low mattress in a cold stone room in the palace of Alexandria, listening to the sea breeze slip through the window cracks, carrying the scent of salt and incense smoke. Outside, it's an Egyptian night. Inside, it's the slow rhythm of a breath preparing for a day that doesn't truly belong to you. So, before you settle in, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I'm doing here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'm always curious to know where in the world you're listening to this story. Now, turn off the lights, maybe switch on a fan for some gentle white noise, and let's embark on tonight's journey together. You close your eyes, but you're not asleep. The thin linen blanket brushes against your skin, cool but not entirely comfortable. The air carries a faint dampness and the scent of pollen. A distinct smell of Alexandria. Of power and deceit. There's no sound, except for the distant meow of a cat. You think it's Batet. Maybe. Or maybe it's just the cat that likes to sit on expensive papyrus scrolls. You turn over, facing the darkness. Tomorrow is a ceremonial day. That means you'll have to sit still as a statue for 4 hours on a black wood throne draped in green silk. Pretending your back doesn't ache. You're all too familiar with that role. And every role begins the night before. You remember the first time you slept here. In this room. The pillow was as hard as a statue of Ra. The oil lamp flickered. Your mother whispered, "Everything has meaning if you play it right." You didn't understand then. Now, you understand all too well. Tonight, like every night, is a rehearsal for tomorrow, the role of Cleopatra. You're not always her. On paper, yes. In history books, absolutely. But in reality? Sometimes, you're just a sleepy girl pretending to control the world. Tonight's nightgown is thin-woven linen, embroidered with dolphins leaping through waves. The seamstress once asked, "Why not lotus flowers?" You replied, "Because dolphins don't grow in swamps." You smile to yourself, recalling that. On the table sits a clay jug of water, with a few wilted rosemary sprigs stuffed inside. Someone said it helps with sleep. You think it's more like a flying broomstick from a story. You pull the blanket up to your chest. Moonlight slips through the wooden window frame, pooling at the foot of the bed. It's not enough to read by, but enough to remind you you're awake. There's a faint sound of footsteps in the hallway. You don't turn. It's a servant bringing tomorrow's towel. They always do, ensuring you never forget, tomorrow is real. You think of those who've slept in this palace before. Many of them. Most nameless. Some killed. Some just vanished. You're still here. Still breathing. Still carrying the weight of a dynasty. And still not asleep. You reach out, touching the thick, soft rug beside the bed. One of the few things in your life free of commands or secrets. You whisper to yourself, and to any god still listening, "Just don't let me break the ceremonial jug tomorrow." You know you won't sleep deeply. But at least, you can dream. If only for a moment. Just one frame in a dream where you don't have to raise your hand in a wave. Where you can laugh without anyone noting it down. Where you're not Cleopatra, just you. And maybe, tonight, you'll meet yourself there. A gentle breeze drifts through the window. You pull the blanket to your shoulders, close your eyes, and let the sound of the wind carry you toward the morning to come. You open your eyes before light enters the room. No rooster crowing, no clock chiming. Just that distinct sensation in your eyelids, the feeling of dawn not yet arrived, but duty already waiting outside. You sit up slowly, careful not to make a sound. Not because anyone would hear, but to remind yourself that a long day lies ahead, and every second of quiet is precious. Your heels touch the cold stone floor, like the surface of a moon yet to be named. The room is still dark, but someone has placed a linen towel beside a basin of water. The water is warm, with white lotus petals floating inside. You don't ask who did it. You don't need to. They always know exactly when you'll wake. You dip your hands into the basin. The water is warm, faintly fragrant, but not enough to wash away the invisible exhaustion. A bronze mirror hangs low, just enough for you to lean in and look. The reflection is slightly distorted, as if you're seeing a version of yourself from a past life. Your hair is slightly tangled. A few creases on your cheek from the hard pillow. And your eyes, still bearing traces of a sleepless night. You sigh, leaning closer. There's no time for daydreaming today. The maids enter like wisps of smoke, silent, carrying a turquoise ceremonial dress. Their hands hold a wooden tray draped in silk, placed on the table, a piece of grain bread, a cup of pomegranate juice red as blood, and a small pouch of cosmetics made from Sinai minerals. No one speaks. You raise your hand. They begin to do your hair. 3 of them. 1 combs. 1 sprinkles scented powder. 1 braids and pins golden clasps shaped like lion heads. Historians still debate whether Cleopatra chose her hairstyle each morning or if it was dictated by ritual. But you know, sometimes, you choose. Other times, your hair chooses you. Once, you told them to braid it into a snake pattern. The ancient Egyptians believed it protected the mind when leaving the palace. You just thought it looked cool. When your hair is done, they apply a fine layer of ivory powder to your face, light enough to catch the glow of the oil lamps. Then, black eyeliner extends outward, creating the illusion of someone always alert. You've never felt that way, but people like to see you as such. Finally, the lipstick. A mix of red ochre and honey, with a strange salty sweet taste. Once, you licked your lips and thought, this is the taste of endurance mixed with sugar. You don't eat breakfast. Not because you're not hungry. But because after wearing this dress and sitting upright for 4 hours, you don't want anything in your stomach. Today's dress is pleated fabric, thin as a breath, adorned with lapis lazuli stones from distant lands. It's not too heavy, but enough to make you feel like a statue, not a person. You're used to it. Remember the scent of the basin water earlier? It still lingers on your hands. And you know, for the next few hours, it'll be the only pleasant smell you encounter. You stand. Your spine reminds you that you stood too long yesterday. But it's fine. Today is a new day. A new role. You walk out of the room, through a long hallway lined with pale gold tiles. The sun is already shining. High windows face east, and you, though not much for omens, notice the sky is cloudier than usual today. You look up at the pale gray sky. A good day for conversations that aren't entirely true. You glance at your reflection in a bronze mirror on the wall, now the light is clear enough to see. The girl in the mirror has sharp eyes, thin black eyeliner, and slightly pursed lips. That's you, or the person others think you are. You bow your head slightly. Only you see it. Then you turn. And you walk. Before you, the great door to the council chamber slowly opens. Inside lies another world, where words are currency and silence is a weapon. You take a deep breath. Ready to step in. Of course, you can't walk into a royal meeting smelling of sweat with creases on your forehead. That's why, before any discussion with officials or envoys, you must bathe. And not just any bath. Today is a special bath, chosen according to the star calendar. The astrologer declared that the star of Thoth is in a favorable position to cleanse negative energy. You're not sure how much negative energy you have, but you do have a white marble bathtub, melted beeswax, goat yogurt, and some pink powder they insist is made from ground seashells. You step into the bathroom. No door. Just a light silk curtain, rustling faintly like wind over sand. You've forgotten the last time you bathed alone. There are always at least 3 people around you, one to pour water, one to scrub your back, one to clear away dirty towels. If you don't speak, they don't either. Just breathing, water flowing, and the faint sound of stringed instruments from afar. You step into the tub. The water is warm, almost hot. The scent of yogurt and beeswax rises, clinging to your hair, sliding over your skin. You close your eyes for a moment. It's like vanishing. This is the rare moment you can pretend to be someone else. Not a queen. Not a political pawn. Not a subject of future historians' debates. Just a person. In warm water. With the scent of honey and the whisper of bubbles. Suddenly, a cold sensation on your right shoulder makes you open your eyes, its perfume mixed with pearl powder, poured to balance the energy of your face. It sounds odd. But you swear it makes your skin glow under the oil lamps. A question drifts through your mind: if you weren't Cleopatra, who would you be? A playwright? A pomegranate farmer? A lamp seller? The last idea makes you chuckle softly. The lamp queen, not bad. You step out of the tub as the water cools, leaving a layer of wax and yogurt floating like a melted moon. A servant wraps you in a towel, tied with a lavender-scented linen cord. They lead you to a stone chair to dry your hair under the gentle sunlight streaming through a lotus-shaped window. One begins applying scented oil to your feet, one toe at a time. Not because you need it, but because ritual demands it. Historians still debate whether Cleopatra was addicted to beauty rituals or if they were a strategy for power. But you know, every layer of cream, every motion of application, is another layer of armor. You learned early that beauty is a weapon. And weapons must be sharpened daily. Once your hair is dry, the oil absorbed, and everything in place, literally and figuratively, you stand. They bring you a lighter dress. Not a ceremonial one, just attire for a late breakfast and a private meeting with 3 men you trust. 1/3 of the time. This dress is ivory white, embroidered with kite patterns. You don't ask why. Maybe to remind you that power is as fleeting as the wind. Or maybe the seamstress just learned a new pattern. You walk through the hallway, where sunlight casts square patches on the stone floor. Your hand brushes lightly against the wall, where your favorite poem is carved in demotic script: I don't need a crown to be a queen. Just someone to call my name when night falls. You smile. Someone once called your name like that. But that night is long gone. Before you is the great bronze door, heavy and cold. Beyond it, another day. Another role. Another act in a play no one dares abandon. You adjust your shoulder strap, take a deep breath, and let the scent of rose oil fill your lungs. One step. Then another. And then, you push the door and step in, where people wait not for you, but for the name you carry. Are you ready? No need to answer. You've already stepped inside. You say nothing as you enter the room. No need to. The first sound you hear is the creak of a long wooden bench, followed by a small cough from one of the 3 advisors, and the faint scratch of a reed pen on papyrus, almost like the polite hiss of scholarly air. The meeting room is on the western side of the palace, where morning light flows in slowly, like thick honey. The stone walls are carved with images of gods, Isis granting a scepter, Anubis whispering to the dead. You often joke to yourself that if a meeting drags on too long, at least you've chosen the god to escort you out. 3 men sit before you. All wear white tunics with silver trim, the mark of senior advisors. But don't let the attire fool you. One is dozing off, another is hiding a date fruit under his robe for lunch, and the third is trying not to stare at your neck. You sit on the low chair in the center of the room. It's not a throne, but it's positioned just high enough to make others bow slightly when speaking. A clever design. You think the Egyptians might have invented power dynamics when they started building chairs with bricks. Your Majesty, one begins, his voice tinged with basil and exhaustion. This year's budget for the Fayum region is slightly off the grain revenue target. You nod. Not because you're concerned, but because you're trying not to laugh as the second man lets a date pit fall from his mouth. We could raise taxes on spices? One suggests. No, you say, your voice smooth as folded velvet. If we tax spices any further, all of Alexandria will smell like ruins. You see them pause. Maybe because of the sarcasm. Maybe because they didn't think you were listening. Historians still debate whether Cleopatra was a tough ruler or a subtle one. But if they were here now, they'd know, you don't need to shout to make people fall silent. You turn to the third man, an old one with a smile like cracked clay. Nothing to say today? You ask, your voice just loud enough for the breeze to carry it to the door, but not to eavesdroppers. He shrugs. I think your Majesty already knows all the answers. An old flattery. But delivered with a tone not overly flattering. You don't smile, but your eyes soften slightly. Then today, I want to hear questions. A silence passes, like smoke trapped among the stone statues in the room. Finally, they start asking. Not great questions, but enough for you to answer. And so the meeting begins. You sit, back straight, dress unwrinkled, hands resting lightly on your lap. No one knows you're counting your breaths to keep from getting annoyed. You think about your cat. You think about the sweet spicy almond cakes baked for Isis's festival. You think that if you leave this room early, you might have a few minutes to watch the sun on the eastern steps. Once, when one of the three starts rambling, you interrupt gently. Sir, if your point is that you have no point, please say so, and I can offer tea. That man blushes. Another coughs. The last one hides a smile. As the meeting nears its end, one hands you a quick report. You pretend to read it. In truth, you're looking past the bronze tablet, where the reflection shows the door slightly ajar. There's the sound of birds in the hallway. Messenger pigeons. Or perhaps palace starlings. Or maybe a cleverly disguised courier. Who knows? You stand as the sun reaches the arched window. You say, thank you, gentlemen. We made no progress today, but at least no one lied too blatantly. You leave the room, leaving behind three slightly hunched backs. Outside, the sun tilts toward the hallway leading to the rose garden. You don't want to return to your room yet. You don't want to remove this mask of decorum yet. Maybe you'll escape to the garden for a while, where no one calls you your Majesty. Just a person who breathes, thinks, and hates morning meetings. You turn and walk toward the light, leaving the men with their notes. And plenty of question marks. You step into the hallway, where the sunlight has shifted fully to the east. The light slants through rows of stone columns, casting even stripes on the cold tiled floor. Each step you take echoes softly, as if you're entering a space more sacred than the temple itself. And perhaps, to you, it is sacred. The garden behind the temple, forgotten by most in the palace, is the only place you feel alive. No ceremonies. No court music. Just wild rosemary, low lavender bushes, and an old fig tree casting its shade over the sand. You used to hide here as a child. wearing a crown of leaves, chasing white butterflies, pretending to be a goddess. Before you had to become a queen for real. You sit on a stone bench beside a small round fountain. On the water's surface, lotus leaves float lazily, creating tiny ripples as the breeze passes. A young maid passes by, sees you, and starts to kneel, but you shake your head lightly. No need. Here, you don't need to be acknowledged. You slip off your thin leather sandals, letting your feet touch the damp grass. A cool sensation, a reminder that you still have a body, not just a symbol in future history books. In that moment, you think of the breakfast you never ate. You're not hungry, you just crave the taste. The taste of ripe pomegranate. Slightly sour cheese bread. And dates stuffed with nutmeg. A queen's breakfast sounds luxurious, but it's really just eating in silence while everyone watches you like a living painting. You once tried talking while eating. Tried laughing while chewing. But just once, you were reminded, a queen shouldn't show her teeth at meals. You thought, if you can't laugh while eating, are you still human? You reach out and pluck a jasmine flower from a nearby vine. It's just bloomed, its scent soft and pure like a morning undisturbed by anyone. You remember when Caesar once asked, "What's for breakfast?" You replied, "Silence." He laughed. "Is it easy to digest?" You said, "It stays in your stomach all day." You quietly think no one understands that better than you. There's a rustle. A cat leaps onto the wall, licks its paw, and lazily looks at you. You whisper, "What did you eat this morning, little Bautet?" The cat blinks, then turns away as if bored with the entire dynasty. You rest your arm on your knee, leaning back, letting the sunlight warm your face. The sun is gentle. Not the harsh light of banquets. Not the probing gazes of courtiers. Just sunlight, ordinary, asking nothing of you. You breathe deeply. The scent of lavender, fresh grass, and a hint of road dust floats in the air. Real smells, alive. Not found in history books. You close your eyes, letting yourself melt into this moment, if only for one breath. From afar, a soft call, "Your Majesty, it's time to prepare for the ceremony." You open your eyes. No surprise. You knew this moment wouldn't last. You look at the cat, still lounging on the wall, motionless as a temple statue. You smile. "I'm jealous of you." Then you stand, brush the grass from your feet, slip on your sandals, adjust your dress, and walk out of the garden. One last time, you glance back at the row of trees. There, the breath of a woman, not a symbol, still lingers. You leave the garden, returning to the hallway leading to the dressing room, where the royal mask awaits you. As it does every day. The dressing room lies deep within the palace, far from sunlight, as if a queen's appearance must be crafted in shadow. You step inside, where flickering oil lamps cast light like the flames of ancient goddesses. The walls are draped in white cloth, reflecting a soft glow, making everything feel dreamlike, as if you've entered a dream you don't truly own. A low wooden chair sits in the center, before a large, polished bronze mirror that almost shows a clear reflection. On the table are wooden trays filled with what will transform you from human to Cleopatra. There's powder made from western desert minerals, pearl-colored, making your skin catch candlelight as if it glows. There's black coal, mixed from charcoal and oil, to line your eyes in the shape of Horus's wings, as if the gods guard your eyes, whether you're weary or bored. There's lipstick from crushed rose petals and red seashells, the color of blood and power. And finally, the perfume vials. One smells strongly of amber. Another is a blend of frankincense and resin. But today, you choose one that smells like the night before a storm. Intense, sharp, unpredictable. The woman beside you has done this for over a decade. She never asks, never comments, just gently applies, draws, adjusts, as if tending to a statue meant for worship. You watch your reflection as the makeup takes shape. Slowly, your face is no longer yours. It's the face the world will speak of with awe and fear. Historians still debate whether Cleopatra was stunningly beautiful or a cunning politician using her image to manipulate. But you know, the truth isn't in the nose, but in how you make them unable to look away. You stand as the final touch is complete, a delicate crown is placed on your head, adorned with a deep blue gem symbolizing Hathor's strength. Not too heavy, but enough to remind you of the weight of every gaze waiting outside. You step out of the dressing room, each step slow, as if the tiled floor were waves and you were gliding rather than walking. Through the hallway, servants bow as you pass. No one meets your eyes. They look around you, as if your presence is a blinding aura. You hear the rustle of your dress with each step. Over the years, that sound has become a signal, a fanfare without drums or trumpets. Just the swish of fabric and the scent of the perfume you chose today. You know you're about to enter the temple, where everyone will bow and chant your name, where every small movement will be recorded by eyes, ears, and memories of those who never dare question. You pause before the great door. The doorkeeper awaits your signal. You nod slightly, and the door opens. Ceremonial music rises. Slow. Solemn. But in your mind, there's only one sound, the morning breeze through the rose garden earlier. You step inside. No stumble. No looking back. And if anyone asked what you're thinking in that moment, you'd say, I'm remembering the cat's meow from last night. Because amidst all the grandeur and ritual, you're still the woman who didn't sleep soundly last night, and never will, as long as you carry that name. The temple unfolds before you like the jaws of a sacred crocodile, opening to swallow the morning light. Everything here exists for a reason. Tall stone columns reach the ceiling, carved with reliefs recounting your ancestors' deeds, or at least, what the scribes wanted to believe was true. Each step you take echoes twice, as if the place itself reminds you, you are legend. You walk through curling incense smoke, wrapping around you like fairy tale mist. Its scent reminds you of the first night you were called divine. You were 14. The people bowed low, the priest sprinkled perfumed water on the stone floor, and your father, Ptolemy XII, whispered in your ear, from now on, you are not just human. You wanted to laugh. But you didn't. Because in that moment, you understood, from now on, no one could see you laugh for real. You ascend the stone platform, where the statue of Isis stands at the center, a head taller than you. Goddess of magic, wisdom, and rebirth. You look up at her stone eyes. They don't blink. Neither do you. The ceremony begins with a chant so long you could recite all three versions in Greek, Demotic, and Ancient Egyptian. But you don't chant. You stand. Like a living pillar amidst an unmoving ritual. A priest raises a golden bowl containing a mixture of honey, wine, and pigeon blood. No one sees you wince. Not because of the blood, but because of the wine smell. You've hated it since you got drunk at 16 during Alexandria's spring festival and told a Roman envoy his hair looked like dried fish. The story spread across the city in 2 days. Historians still debate whether you were the queen of emotional control or a woman who played goddess to manipulate politics. But in this moment, as incense curls from that golden bowl, you're just trying not to sneeze. After the prayer, you step forward 2 paces and lightly touch the statue. Your hand rests on Isis's cold stone belly, where she cradles her son Horus. A simple gesture. But the world pauses in that moment. You feel your heartbeat. Perhaps a little fast. But steady. You hear the priest's whispers, the crackle of fire from the incense burner, and the faint wind slipping through high ceiling slits, like the soft murmurs of ancestors. You step back. The offerings are presented. The people clap softly, not because they understand, but because they were taught to. You turn. Not too fast, not too slow. Every movement rehearsed since childhood. You leave the temple, leaving behind the incense and the lingering chants. With each step, you feel yourself dissolving into the wind, the scent, the red lipstick history will forever embellish. You turn into a small hallway leading to a resting chamber. No one follows you now. Just the slanting light and the sound of your footsteps. You smile faintly. You've played the goddess. Now it's time to be human again. Before you is a small door leading to the eastern terrace, where a cool breeze, birdsong, and a cold stone chair await. A brief pause. A soft breath. Before the sunset brings another ritual. You push the small door and step onto the eastern terrace, where the light is gentler, where no guards stand, where you can indulge in the greatest luxury of being a queen, sitting alone. A simple stone chair sits under an ancient grapevine, shaded by lush green leaves, with unripe grape clusters swaying lazily in the breeze. You sit, feeling the coolness of the stone seep through your linen dress. Your hands rest lightly on the armrests, your eyes gazing out, where the northern city walls peek through palm fronds. You say nothing. No need. Here, words aren't required. Just breathing. The breeze carries the scent of damp earth after the servants' watering, a grounded smell. Far from ceremonies and thrones. Here, no one asks you to answer questions or give decrees. You're allowed to not know. You lean back, letting the breeze cool your neck. Your eyes close. You recall a childhood game, pretending to be a stranger sneaking into the palace, seeing it all for the first time. The golden walls, the bronze doors, the cats strutting like they own the place. A silly game, but it helped you hold on to a piece of yourself. You don't know when you stopped playing it. Maybe when your eldest sister laughed in your face and said, "A king's daughter doesn't get to dream." You dreamed anyway. Quietly. In moments like this. A stronger gust rustles the leaves like papyrus sheets brushing together. A small leaf falls onto your head, sliding gently across your cheek. You don't brush it away. You think of the letters. Letters arriving weekly from the frontiers, Syria, Libya, Nubia. All begging for your guidance, direction, or worse. Marriage for the nation's benefit. You once counted, over 46 marriage proposals in 2 years. Many called you the seductive queen. Historians still debate whether Cleopatra was a powerful woman using love as a political tool or merely a victim of her era. But you know, every declaration of love was shaped like a noose. You learned to smile lightly and say, "What an honor," while inside. You found it amusing. You open your eyes and look at the sky. Not a single cloud. Just a pale blue, like tea poured 3 times over. You prefer a cloudy sky, it makes you feel the heavens have gaps, imperfections too. You glance at your hand, still wearing the thin silver bracelet etched with Hathor, goddess of love, joy, and women. You took it off once, when you learned you were pregnant with your first child. You weren't afraid of motherhood. You were afraid. You wouldn't have time to truly be a mother. You brush your wrist, where a faint scar lingers from wearing the bracelet too long. A tiny mark. But you always remember. The sound of the breeze, birds, and the scent of earth blend into what you call empty time, time when no one watches you. You want to hold on to this moment a little longer. Just a little. From afar, a short chime of a bronze bell rings, the signal for the evening banquet preparations. You sigh softly. Not from exhaustion. but because every pause must end. You stand, brush the hem of your dress, and turn back inside. The stone chair remains, as if no one had ever sat there. You return to your private chamber, not the bedroom, not the study, but a candlelit space where you prepare for what's called diplomatic rituals, though really, it's performance. This afternoon, there's a small banquet. Not many guests, just about a dozen, but each gaze will scrutinize you like they're searching for cracks in a priceless vase. You can't choose who attends, but you can choose who you'll be at this feast. And today, you decide to be Cleopatra of Alexandria, the dazzling, unpredictable version. The maids bring 3 outfit choices: an emerald green dress with gold embroidery, a deep blue one like a moonless night, and a plain crimson one with a scarab brooch at the chest. You choose the blue. Not because it's the prettiest, but content, but because it matches the evening sky you saw today, a sky no one notices when trapped in negotiations. You sit for your hair to be done. Not the stiff royal updo, but a soft twist to the left, with a few strands falling gently by your ears, like you're accidentally beautiful. You don't believe in accidents. Everything is deliberate, from the fold of your dress, the curve of your kohl-lined eyes, to the teardrop earrings that catch candlelight just enough for a second glance. When you look in the bronze mirror, you see a woman you're not sure you remember the real name of anymore. They call you Queen. Daughter of gods, lover of Caesar, mother of Rome's future. But right now, you're just thinking about the taste of ripe figs, something this banquet won't have. You remember the last time you ate figs, during a lonely sunset with your younger brother, before he was swept into the political game, when you could both laugh without looking over your shoulders. Historians still debate whether Cleopatra sacrificed family for power or was simply caught in the whirlwind of royalty. But you know, you didn't kill anyone. You just couldn't save them. A maid hands you a small perfume vial. You choose sandalwood with a hint of white musk. Not too sharp, not too sweet, just enough to make someone lean closer for a second sniff. You step out of the room. Your steps are light but rhythmic, like a song only you hear. You pass through the main hallway, where candlelight reflects off marble, casting your shadow like a soft ink stain. The sound of your thin leather sandals on the floor echoes like a forgotten festival drum. You hear murmurs from the banquet hall, men's voices, women's voices, clinking glasses, interrupted laughter. You take a breath, then exhale softly. You're about to take center stage in tonight's play. No one knows you've memorized every line. No one knows you're ready for every glance, every veiled remark, every politically charged wink. You reach the door. The doorkeeper bows and pushes open the carved wooden door. A flood of light from dozens of oil lamps spills out, along with the rich scent of spices and the soft strumming of a small harp in the corner. Every head turns toward you. You smile. Not a joyful smile, but the smile of someone who knows that, in a room full of people trying to read your intentions, only you don't need to guess. You step inside, shoulders straight, head high, eyes soft as chilled wine. And the night begins. Again. You sit at the high, velvet-cushioned chair at the head of the table, where all eyes converge like stars drawn to a rising moon. You don't want to sit here. But if you didn't, they'd think you were hiding something. And if you were hiding something, they'd scrutinize you even more. Your chair is positioned slightly askew from the table, as if you're a deliberate accent outside the frame. It has no armrests, allowing you to turn toward any guest, or away, with subtle intent, when you dislike a comment. You scan the table, roasted meat skewers with bay leaves, wine-soaked raisins, salted fish with dill, and a small pyramid of honey cakes. To your right sits a stout man, a Greek envoy from a city-state. He sent 4 marriage proposals, all rejected with the same line: the queen doesn't marry men who send cheap wine. He still smiles, because you still let him sit close. To your left is a sharp-eyed Roman woman, her gaze like a carving knife, hiding questions in the bottom of her wine glass. She's the wife of one of Caesar's trusted generals. You know she's not here to chat. She's here to measure you. You smile at both, just enough to seem friendly, but not enough to seem weak. Soft music plays from the corner, slow, plucking strings like desert rain. Music made to fill silence, not to be heard. You stir your non-alcoholic grape juice with a silver spoon, creating a sharp, small sound, a reminder that you're here and listening. A servant brings the first course, herb salad with goat yogurt dressing. You take a small bite, chewing slowly. Your eyes seem dreamy, but you're watching the Greek envoy's breathing as he eyes the unfamiliar dish, and the Roman woman slicing thin pieces without touching the plate's edge. Historians still debate whether Cleopatra was a master diplomat or a performer. But you know, there's no difference. You raise your glass without a word. The table follows. A toast understood without being spoken. The banquet flows steadily, dishes change, wine is poured, words loosen. You don't get drunk. You haven't since you were 17. You lean toward the envoy. What do you think of the dill sauce? He's startled by the question, then grins, bold, strong. Like the one who made it. You smile faintly, your eyes grazing his glass. I didn't cook, but I chose the chef. The words slide through the air like a gold-plated dagger. Beautiful. And sharp enough to make someone flinch. Later, you leave the table without announcement. You walk down a marble hallway, your shadow dancing in candlelight like soft ink. You enter a private room, a small table, a few ceramic jars, and a hand-drawn map of Alexandria. You sit, exhaling softly. In this room, you're not a symbol. You're a planner. You unroll a papyrus scroll, scanning lines in ancient Egyptian, written by an old teacher who taught you, only by knowing every river and field can you hold the throne. You pick up a reed pen and write, the flood season will be late. No one will see this note. But it will reach the right hands. And tomorrow, a field somewhere will be saved. You put down the pen, wash your hands in a silver basin, and leave the room. The candles still burn. The music continues. But Cleopatra has already moved one step ahead of the night. You return to the main hallway, where the lazy strumming of harp strings still lingers from the ongoing banquet. But this time, you don't turn left to rejoin the feast. You walk straight toward a small door hidden behind a curtain embroidered with lotus flowers. No one is allowed here but you. This is the only room in the palace without maids, statues, or incense. Just a low wooden table, a cushioned chair, and a wall full of letters. Letters from Caesar. From governors. From scholars. From men and women who loved, hated, feared, or admired you. But most importantly, letters. From yourself. You write to yourself every lunar cycle, a habit no one knows, no one understands. And no one needs to. You sit, lighting a small lamp. Its glow is soft, like the palm of a mother you barely remember. You open a walnut-wood box. Inside are papyrus scrolls tied with linen cords. Some have faded ink. Some still smell of cedar oil from when you scented your hands before writing. You take out the latest letter. The first line reads, "If I'm still here next month." You chuckle softly. Not out of despair. But because writing to the future in the language of uncertainty has a certain charm. You dip a pen in ink and write, to myself, one lunar cycle from now, today, I wore blue. Not for any reason. Just because it felt like the color of peace. If peace had a color. The banquet wasn't bad. But I missed figs more than the Roman chef's pickled fish. Caesar hasn't written. Probably busy counting enemies or befriending his enemy's enemies. Or trying to name his new horse. It's fine. I'm fine. I didn't cry when lighting incense for my brother. I signed 7 decrees, changed 2 taxes, and stopped a small rebellion in the south. I haven't forgotten the irrigation map. You pause. Breathe out. Quietly. You continue, and I still remember the name of that gray cat from 3 years ago, the one that slept on the terrace during the first winter rain. I haven't forgotten anything. Don't be afraid. If I'm still writing next month, remember, living one more day is a victory, even if it feels like a string of meaningless rituals. You sign the letter, not with Cleopatra. Just a small symbol, a papyrus flower, the kind you used to pick barefoot by the canals. You roll up the scroll, place it in the box, and blow out the lamp. The room falls into complete darkness, filled only with the smell of old paper and lamp ash. You sit still for a few breaths, as if dissolving into the air. Then you stand, part the curtain, and step outside. The night has fully descended. The world outside is strangely quiet. You walk through the northern hallway to your bedroom. Each cold tile underfoot is a soft step in the sea of time. No more music. No more wine. Just you and the night's breath. You whisper to yourself, "Tonight is mine." And you smile. Softly. Almost unreal. You step into your bedroom, a quiet, spacious room where echoes don't linger. The walls are draped with thick linen, the floor covered with soft wool rugs, and the bed is positioned away from the sun, so even the earliest light won't touch your eyes. Your bed is a cedar wood frame with a thick mattress, pillows embroidered with winged gods, and a scented water basin at the foot for soaking your feet. You don't change out of your ceremonial dress yet. You sit on the edge of the bed, bare feet grazing the floor, eyes fixed on the nearly extinguished lamp on the table. The room smells familiar, ancient wood, faint incense, and a hint of memory. You don't light another lamp. You're used to the dark, it's more honest than light. In the dark, no one sees you, no one expects you to shine. You stretch out, pulling a pillow to your chest. Not because you need it. Just because a part of you remembers cold nights as a princess. Sleeping alone in a low stone room behind the great hall, where the night mist seeped into the mattress. You've gained much since ascending the throne: power, fame, praise, and fear from others. But one thing you've never truly had: safety. Historians still debate whether Cleopatra ever feared anything. They record battles, negotiations, legendary quotes. But no one wrote that your hand trembled the first time you ordered a traitorous governor's execution. And it did tremble. Not because you didn't dare. But because you knew the cost of daring. You lie on your side, pulling the thin sheet over you. Your head rests on a small pillow embroidered with a falcon, symbol of Horus, protector of royalty. You think of your mother. Not because she taught you anything profound. But because your last memory of her is an embrace. A simple embrace. No jewels. No political motives. Just 2 arms around each other. You vaguely recall that feeling. Like a song with only a distorted chorus left. You turn, gazing at the ceiling inlaid with glass pieces forming the constellation of Osiris. That constellation has always been there, through wars, rebellions, and those who sought your throne. You exhale. Long, slow, steady. Part of you wants to sleep. But another part stays on guard. You've learned to sleep with one eye open, one ear listening for footsteps in the hallway, and a mind always planning. Because you're not just a queen. You're the last of your line still on the throne. You close your eyes, but your memory doesn't sleep. You see yourself rowing a small boat on the Nile, a distant summer afternoon. The river gleaming like pale bronze, children's laughter echoing from the shore. You're laughing, loudly. No one calls you Cleopatra. Just Cleo. You open your eyes. The night isn't over. You know tomorrow is another day. Another ceremony, another game. But for now, it's just you. A young woman, lying on a jeweled bed, in her own palace, quietly counting her breaths. And telling herself, as every night, as long as one person believes in me, I'll keep waking up. Outside the window, the night breeze brushes the palace roof like a hand gently touching your forehead, an invisible, tender caress. You close your eyes again. This time, you truly sleep. When dawn timidly appears on the horizon, you're already awake. No one called. No one knocked. Your body seems programmed to wake before the first servant's footsteps echo through the stone hallway. You lie still, eyes open, watching the ceiling shift colors in the faint light. Perhaps only Cleopatra knows that the quietest moments of the day are those first seconds after waking, when you're still human before becoming a symbol again. You turn, your feet touching the cold floor. A morning breeze slips through a narrow window, carrying the scent of sand and Nile mist, a smell no perfume can replicate, but one that reminds you you're alive, still here. You step out of the room. Unannounced. Down the hallway, the night lamps have long gone out. Your shadow stretches long in the creeping light from the window slits. You walk barefoot, silent as a friendly ghost in your own palace. Your destination is the library. Not the temple. Not the council chamber. Not the training grounds. The library, the invisible heart of Alexandria. Historians still debate whether Cleopatra truly read books or merely patronized the library for political gain. But they don't know you skipped ceremonial lessons to read Indian medical texts, stayed up all night with Plato's translations, and memorized the names of stars as the Babylonians called them. You push open the silent wooden door. Inside, thousands of papyrus scrolls rest in curved wooden racks, the smell of old paper mingling with incense ash and beeswax. You don't light a lamp. The faint light from the windows reveals specks of dust, tiny grains of time floating slowly. You pick a small scroll. Not a political text. Not a military strategy. But a merchant's journal from Thebes to Meroe, detailing how many times he fell off his camel, the taste of millet porridge with herbs, and the one time he saw snow at the southern border. You sit on a low chair in the center of the room, unroll the scroll, and read silently with your eyes. Each word is a slow beat, pulling you away from the throne, the noise, the expectations tied to the title Queen of Egypt. You're just a reader. You smile faintly when the merchant writes, "I traded a sack of salt for shoes, then lost both to a chasing goat." In the library, you don't need to defend yourself. You can blink. You can smile. You can put down the pen. You fold the scroll, place it back on the shelf, and lightly touch its spine as a thank you. This room, no throne, no gods, no envoys, is where you keep the most human part of yourself. From outside, the first sound of a servant's sandals signals the start of a new day. You know, the game is about to begin again. You stand, brush imaginary dust from your nightgown, and step into the hallway, the morning breeze giving way to human sounds. You're not in a hurry. They'll wait for you. Because you're the last person who can delay history for a minute. You return to the dressing room, where 3 maids await, heads bowed slightly, holding today's outfit options. You don't need to check the schedule. Their tense faces and fleeting glances tell you today brings envoys. From Rome. Always Rome. Part of you is used to these cycles of negotiations, metaphors, and gazes that are never just gazes. You choose a pure white dress, no embroidery, no jewels. Just thin, mist-like fabric, soft as a gentle refusal. Because true power doesn't need to be loud. You let your hair fall loose, tied lightly with a golden cord, no pins, no peacock feathers like usual. You look in the mirror. A woman without a crown. A woman preparing for a morning like any other. But perhaps the last morning of a chapter in history. You whisper an ancient Greek prayer for luck, one no one uses anymore. But you still remember. You step into the hallway, where Alexandria's sunlight gleams on every inch of marble. Unlike Rome's harsh sun, it doesn't burn. It seeps. Softly. Slowly. Like wine staining cloth before you notice. You walk. No palanquin, no entourage. Just the sound of your footsteps, light but firm on the stone floor. The great hall's door is already open. You step inside. They're waiting. A small delegation, 3 men, a translator, and a thick scroll in a bronze case. You don't sit on the throne yet. You stand. Straight. Silent. A calculated silence that leaves them unsure where to begin. The translator offers a greeting. You nod slightly. The man with the bronze case steps forward, presenting the official letter. You take it, not rushing to open it. You feel its weight, its cool metal. Hard as a Roman politician's stance. You don't say begin as usual. You say, have you eaten breakfast? The question catches him off guard. He laughs, unsure if it's polite or awkward. You look straight at him. Here, we don't discuss business on empty stomachs. Hungry men make poor judgments. You signal for a simple breakfast, flatbread, dates, mint tea. It's not an invitation. It's a test. Those who eat are willing to follow your rhythm. Those who refuse still carry Rome's rhythm in their veins. The man eats. 1 bite. You know you've won the first round. Historians still debate whether Cleopatra ever swayed Rome's stance or was merely a beautiful symbol in history. But you know, change 1 breakfast, and you can change a deal. You sit, finally. Not because they asked. Because you're ready. The audience lasts over 3 hours. Sometimes you speak, sometimes you're silent, sometimes you just twist the bracelet on your wrist and let them think you're scheming. You don't confirm. You don't refuse. You know that sometimes, ambiguity is the greatest advantage. When they leave, you escort them to the door, standing on the steps as their figures fade. You don't say goodbye. You think, we'll meet again. You turn back. Slowly. Head high. Because tomorrow will come. And you'll be here to meet it. The afternoon falls like a thin silk veil, draping Alexandria in pale gold light and the scent of bougainvillea from distant gardens. You stand alone on the western balcony, overlooking the harbor, where Greek, Phoenician, Roman, and Egyptian sails weave an ever-moving tapestry. You sit on a stone chair carved with lions, holding a small cup of pomegranate wine, not to drink, but to warm your palms. The sea breeze carries salt and the low hum of waves against stone. You hear oars splashing, vendors calling, and festival music from fishermen's boats along the shore. The world below you is alive. And you, quietly observing, are like a lamp behind a curtain. No one knows you're here. No need for them to know. You're savoring the rarest luxury of a queen's life, anonymity. You think of the years gone by. The political storms you've weathered, the broken alliances, the lovers who left, and those who tried to bring you down, only to turn to dust in history's pages. You feel no resentment. No pride. Just gratitude. For living to see this day, still whole. Historians still debate whether Cleopatra planned her own death or if it was the inevitable result of defeat. But if you have an ending, it won't be written by someone else. You're not dying. Not today, at least. You glance at a stack of papers beside you, an unfinished draft of a new tax law for the southern markets. A small matter, but one that affects thousands. You pick up a reed pen and write a single line. No one watches. No one claps. No one records it. But to you, this is true governance. You stand and walk along the hallway toward the east, where the first moonlight will soon rise. The palace grows quiet. Servants retreat. Your footsteps on the tiles match the city's heartbeat. You pass the statue of Isis, nodding slightly, not as a worshipper, but as an old colleague. You whisper, "Another peaceful day." Noted. Back in your room, the moon glows through a lotus-shaped stained glass window. You shed your ceremonial dress, wash your hands in a cold stone basin, and climb into bed. No help, no rituals. Just you, the night breeze, and the fading sounds of the world outside. You close your eyes. Not to escape, but to rest. You've lived. Not as they tell it, but as you chose. And whatever tomorrow brings, tonight, you belong to yourself. Now, all sounds fade away. You lie still, your breathing slows, each cell drifting into the gentle waves of approaching sleep. The image of Alexandria fades in your mind, the hot stone walls, the massive gates. The swaying palms in the sea breeze. All melting into a soft mist. You hear a distant whisper from the past, unclear, like a loved one calling your name from an unknown place. No more palace, no more politics, no other names. Just a girl from Egypt who read books by lamplight, let the sea breeze dry her hair, walked the halls at dawn. And whispered to herself, "Every day I live is a manifesto." Moonlight glides across your face, soft as a divine kiss. No crown needed. No records required. Just perfect silence. Another night passes. Another mind drifts free. You're still here, in stories, in memories, in the final breath of history. Gently. Softly. No farewells needed. Just one deep breath. And you sleep soundly.